Greetings to everyone on my channel. Sit back. Now you will listen to another incredible story about the relationship of a married couple and the incredible exposure of his wife. I will ask you to subscribe to my channel and like it. It's not difficult for you, but it's nice for me. When I see a couple on the street, consisting of a more mature man and a young woman, I involuntarily recall the first months of my marriage with my wife. Marina and I started dating while studying at the university, and it has been a little more than 3 years since in March 2015 we legalized our relationship and moved into our first house, which we rented in a small village in New Riga. This house was adjacent to a large building owned by an elderly widower who rented it to us. And although he was dry and restrained at first, after discussions we signed a long-term lease agreement. The owner of the house, Andrei Petrovich, although he was older, still did not immediately trust us, since we were young and just starting to build our careers. However, I insisted that the contract be signed for a long time. We also asked him for a discount as newlyweds, but he just laughed, saying that for this the bride must be very nice. Andrei Petrovich was a man with a special sense of humor, and although his manner of communication sometimes seemed strange, I did not attach much importance to it. Marina, having learned about his comments, decided to wear a more elegant suit to a meeting with the owner, and this act allowed us to sign the contract without further problems. At first, after moving, Andrei Petrovich was extremely tactful and did not appear often. We enjoyed the first days of married life and settled into a new home. Over time, Andrei Petrovich began to come in more often, chat with us over a cup of coffee, and bring small gifts. He was pleased to communicate with us, especially with Marina, and he often complimented her. At one point, he even jokingly said that if we had difficulty paying, he was ready to offer alternative ways of compensation, and we laughed at his strange joke. Marina and I tried not to pay attention to his unusual jokes and continued to live our lives. Sometimes Andrei Petrovich allowed himself to joke a little on the edge of what was acceptable, but we always perceived this as a harmless trait of an elderly man who just liked communication. In the end, we decided not to focus on his behavior and enjoyed life in our new home, despite his frequent visits. Marina always treated what was happening with humor and was able to cope with such situations without giving them much importance. After this exchange of opinions, I began to look for opportunities so that Marina and Andrei Petrovich could spend more time together. When I managed to stay with the tea preparation for half an hour, Marina told me that our host used the moment to lightly touch her. She didn't mind, but she also didn't let him go too far. When I suggested that my wife meet Petrovich without underwear, she thought for a moment, but eventually refused, deciding that she did not want to violate the established boundaries in our game, not wanting to move on to more intimate moments. Marina was not ready for new steps in our relationship, and I did not insist. Although, to be honest, I admired her appearance, I was not sure how I would behave if I really saw my wife next to Andrei Petrovich. Fantasies are one thing, but life is quite another. I could have laughed or, conversely, felt aroused. But what would happen if I witnessed their closeness? I didn't know the answer to that question. These reflections on Beauty and the Beast continued to excite me. I couldn't figure out what could attract a young woman in an older man. Marina was young and attractive, with thick black hair, deep brown eyes, and a curvy figure. She was the epitome of beauty and passion for me. I became more and more immersed in these fantasies, listening to her stories about the past. One day Marina confessed that her uncle, with whom she danced at our wedding, made her a bold proposal. He said that she was so beautiful in her wedding dress that he would like to go beyond the bounds of decency. This confession of her uncle excited Marina that night. She then replied to him that she had dreamed about it all her life, but now it was too late. When my wife told me about it, I didn't know how to react. I asked, "Why did you marry a man of your age if you were so attracted to older men? Do I excite you less?" "No, stupid. I only love you. It's just that sometimes in life you want variety. But admit it, it turns you on when I talk about these fantasies, right?" Marina continued, her eyes sparkling with mischief. She was trying to figure out what I was thinking. My wife spoke quickly, one question followed another, and I didn't know what to answer. I really wanted us to diversify our lives by bringing new emotions into it, perhaps by playing with different roles. Maybe the fact that these people were older calmed me down, because otherwise I might have felt jealous. She was waiting for my answer. It seemed to me that Marina, even subconsciously, wanted her fantasies to come true so that she could talk about them openly and without embarrassment. I came closer and she kissed me. We had been beating around the bush for a long time, but now that she offered to take the plunge if I wanted to, the initiative was on my side. To avoid making a decision, I kissed her and we plunged into the moment. I realized that I was not ready to fulfill my desires. In the following days, we continued our conversations without moving from words to actions, so as not to be faced with a difficult choice. Andrei Petrovich continued to come to us, and the more time he spent with us, the more it seemed to me that he was beginning to show interest in Marina. He tried to behave himself in my presence, but when I went out, his behavior changed. My wife later told me that she felt his gaze on her and noticed his attention. When Marina lost her job due to restructuring, it was an unexpected blow for us. She immediately said that she would look for a new job, and I was confident in her abilities. But now that she would spend more time at home, I was worried that Andrei Petrovich would be able to take advantage of the situation. His support didn't seem so sincere to me, although he offered not to worry about the rent until we recovered. Marina and I had more time for ourselves, and that made me happy. However, I found myself thinking that perhaps the risk I felt in our situation worried me more than I was willing to admit. Marina was actively looking for work, and more often took me away from work so that Andrei Petrovich would not be alone with her. One evening she asked me, "That's better, isn't it? We come home together. But if I'm alone, Andrei Petrovich may reappear. Is that what you want?" "Hey, honey, you don't need permission from me, do you? I'm amused by all this. My husband is an idiot," she said, laughing. "But I'm still your faithful wife, right?" Of course, a faithful wife is every man's dream. Sometimes I think you're joking about what you've read. "Well, maybe," I said. "While we are waiting for your decision on the allowance, we will have to pay the rent one way or another." Marina smiled slyly. "Do you want me to find some non-standard way for this? That Andrei Petrovich will pay us the rent? Do you want me to do this? It all depends on what you want." "No, you tell me what you want." I felt her gaze pierce me again. What I've always liked about Marina is her directness and sincerity. I imagined her next to this man and didn't know how to react. "At the risk of shocking you, I can say that maybe I would like you to do it," I said. "If you want to, say so directly," she replied. "Yes, honey, if that's what you want for us." "Keep talking straight. I like it," Marina whispered in my ear. I put away her clothes, as Andrei Petrovich might have wanted to do. "Rude words? As you wish, but speak without hints." "Okay, listen. I want you to become more free, so that you allow Andrei Petrovich to do whatever he wants, satisfying his desires. I want to know everything so that you can tell me everything. Maybe I'll even look at you. Or maybe I'll want to be with you after him. Yes, I want you to be with him, and I would see it." The following Sunday, Andrei Petrovich came to us again. Marina decided to follow my suggestion and acted more boldly this time. It was both a relief and a strange feeling for me. I served them coffee and went outside, leaving them alone. When I returned half an hour later, I noticed Marina's beaming gaze. Both had expressions of satisfaction on their faces, although perhaps they had only had a little private conversation. The next day they could continue what they had started. I began to realize that such fantasies do not always lead to good consequences. It became hard for me. When Andrei Petrovich left, I talked to Marina. I wasn't close to him, if that's what you wanted to know. "Did he kiss you?" "Yes, we talked a little and kissed." "And you too?" "Yes." Marina leaned over and kissed me. "If you're jealous, I can understand that." "It's not jealousy. Simply, I don't know how to feel about it. He was just being polite. I knew you'd be back soon." She didn't say anything else, so I dropped the conversation. "Will you come to work with me tomorrow?" I asked her. I promised Andrei Petrovich to finish what we started. "But if you don't mind..." "No, it's okay. Do as you see fit, if that's what you really need." The next day, Marina received Andrei Petrovich at our house, and I went to work, trying to make sense of what was happening. It all seemed strange and ridiculous to me. I didn't know how to react to that. Maybe it was too much for me. The strangest thing happened on Tuesday evening, when I came home alone. I passed Andrei Petrovich, who was returning to his house. He greeted me, but it felt like he was avoiding my gaze. A suspicion crept into my head that Marina had just communicated with him, and this caused mixed feelings in me. When I went into the bedroom, my wife was still in bed. There was a smell of recent intimacy in the room, and it was noticeable in the surroundings. I was overcome with confusion and strong emotions. Although it seemed that the situation should have caused completely different feelings, I felt a strange combination of excitement and misunderstanding of what was happening. Marina and I talked for a long time about her feelings, and I tried to sort out my own. All these events have made me think about what's going on between us. I tried to make sense of my emotions, trying not to go to extremes. We talked about our relationship, about how each of us feels. The next few days were filled with strange events. I felt like I was in a dream, trying to figure out what was really going on. Marina and I discussed our emotions and what worries us. It was a difficult period, full of rethinks and internal contradictions. Finally, I decided to talk to Andrei Petrovich to clarify the situation. We met, and the conversation turned out to be unexpectedly calm. I tried to express my thoughts and understand what was going on between us. It helped me calm down a bit and realize that the situation goes beyond the usual relationship. Since then, our relationship with Marina has changed. We became more open with each other and discussed our feelings. "Try to understand how your wife feels," he said, pulling away and turning his attention back to her, just a few centimeters from my face. "Come on, help me," he offered. Instinctively, I began to help him, feeling that what was happening was going beyond the boundaries of the usual. My wife seemed completely absorbed in the situation. "It's good that I'm taking medication," she said, catching her breath, as if trying to distract herself from what was happening. "It's not that important, because I always get my way," our host grinned. I remembered past events, and it clearly appeared to me that he could be right. "No," I cried out in a burst of emotion, but it was too late to change anything. The situation remained under Andrei Petrovich's control, and my attempts to intervene seemed pointless. "Please," I asked, "you don't want me to go on?" "All right," Andrei Petrovich replied and pulled back, suggesting a new course of events. Everything seemed unnatural and repulsive, and I tried to move away from what was happening. Finally, he stepped back, and I felt some relief. "Darling, it's not over yet," his wife said, her voice full of misunderstanding, and it all felt like something that should have ended sooner. I knew that it was already impossible to change something. Since that day, the relationship between us has changed. Andrei Petrovich no longer demanded rent, and Marina preferred to spend more time with him.